I got this from Amazon. My back hurts. So let's do this. Let's open it up. That was very clean. Maybe I should do this more often when my back is hurting. This is volume 3 of the Ron Spaceman Omnibus. This collects issues 51 through to 75 of Ron Spaceman, as well as annuals 3 and 4, and an issue of Hulk 296. And that bit of art there is from Ron Spaceman 65. It is a splash page. There's our title page, Ron Spaceman with his neutralizer. I think the neutralizer's the one with 2 bits on it, and the analyzer's no, the other way around. That is the analyzer. The neutralizer's the one with one big little digit on the front. Contents. There's the contents. I've forgotten to take the dust jacket off. Underneath we have a printed image, same as on the cover. I believe this is the cover to issue 66. And then on the back we have this Steve Ditman image of all the heroes rushing to fight the dire straits, the evil imposters from among us. This is a splash page, also from Ron Spaceman 65. Although they have added Ron Spaceman into the image. He isn't there on the splash page. As with the previous volumes, all of these are by Bill Mantlo, but the art changes for this. Our first few issues are by John Buscema, brother of Sal Buscema, but then Steve Ditman takes over drawing, and he is paired with a variety of different inkers. Other than Ron Spaceman issue 65 and the issue of Hulk, I haven't read any of this. I do know some of the stuff that happens, some of the plot beats and some of the directions. There's one of the dire straits sucking someone off and taking their form. That is what they do. The imposters from among us, they suck someone off and take their form. And it is Ron Spaceman's mission to eliminate the threat. He's a shiny metal alien dedicated to the eradication of the dire strait menace. Good shot there of the dire straits. Total War. Good pages here as well. There, see the weapon he's using there as two little lines on it, like on the front bit of it. That means it's the analyzer. The neutralizer's just one big one. I'll point it out later when we see the neutralizer. Dire Straits fighting a bunch of army soldier boys and Ron Spaceman and his golden missus. Well, there he is, Ron Spaceman using his neutralizer to neutralize the Dire Straits. A lot of the issues, unfortunately, have ugly Bill son of a bitch covers. Whoa, I'm tripping out, man. I'm having an LSD trip on this acid. Whoa, bad trip, dude. I might just do the rest of this video pretending to be a stoner. Dude. Ron Spaceman has joined forces with the man. Look, it's the actor, Ronald Reagan. And yeah, what we're building to is a big war between Earth and the Dire Straits. Guest starring many Marvel superheroes. And then we have that issue of Hulk, and even this has a bad Bill son of a bitch cover. Hulk was by Bill Mantlo and John Buscema, brother of Sal Buscema as well. This issue has been a bit of a bother for Marvel because they couldn't reprint it in Hulk collections, but it does continue on some subplots from the issues before it. I will be maybe looking at this week, so I won't focus on it too much. Issue 54. I do think we are nearing the very end of Buscema's run on the title. One thing that I do know is that we bring in Dickie Jones straight from the pages of Bill Mantlo's Hulk. Dickie Jones joins the supporting cast of Ron Spaceman for its last 20 or so issues. And he is dying of cancer in the ass. And I think this might be Buscema's last issue. And then issue 56 has art by Mark Brigite. Didn't know he did an issue of Ron Spaceman. I do think that losing Buscema for the last quarter of issues hurts it in the long run. That's not to say that Mark Brigite isn't a good artist. It's just that Buscema has been kind of the visual identity of the book for 50 plus issues, and now we're changing it at the last minute. When really we want to see the payoff to all these stories they've built to, drawn by Buscema. Oh no, we've got one more issue of Buscema, issue 57. Buscema's back here, continuing the story with Alpha Strike. I think Canada has just been flooded. Maybe Gary Conman came up with this idea. Yeah, we've still got some Buscema left in us. Seems like Mark Brigite was just a fill-in issue. This one guest stars Ant-Man, Paul Rudd. Maybe the imposters from Among Us have taken on the form of a hill of ants or something like that. I was joking there. I think that is what actually happens. They're fighting a bunch of ants here. Whoa, far out, man. That's a saucer full of secrets. And here we are with Steve Ditman. I think every other issue has a different inker, and it's interesting to see all these different ways that inkers can interpret Steve Ditman's pencils. In this first one, the inker is Bob Layman. Oh God, they all look like queers. That's my impression of Jason Byrne's dad whenever he sees Bob Layman's inks. The men didn't look that gay, to be honest. The Rafe taint. The Rafe taint. I'm easily amused. Now here's one that I know about. Steve Ditman, inked by Tom Planner. Looking pretty good. But it seems Steve Ditman cannot tell his analyzer from his neutralizer. Analyzer. That is what I should be calling it. That would be funnier, wouldn't it? Bums are funny. But yeah, these inks on Steve Ditman's pencils are pretty insane. They make Steve Ditman's art look so much more detailed and atmospheric than it is. Steve Ditman is very loose with his pencils, but Tom Planner really rounds it off to make it look like Sal Buscema, brother of John Buscema. Then the next one we have Butcher Jackson inking Steve Ditman. I'm not the biggest fan of Butcher Jackson's inking, but he does seem to be approaching Steve Ditman with Steve Ditman's style in mind. We still have a bit of the cartoonist showing his face. Steve Ditman always did almost caricature faces, and it's nice to see that for this, Butcher Jackson tries to retain that quality. There is an issue of something where Butcher Jackson is inking and it looks bad. It looks like every character has a beard, but shadows. Strap in, folks, we're heading towards Guest Star City. It is here with issue 64 that we lock in a semi-permanent inker for Steve Ditman, and that is Craig Russell. And I really like some of the images that the pair put out. It's not consistent enough, but there are pages where it looks phenomenal. I mean, this is exactly the image I was thinking of in my mind. The splash page from issue 65, which is also used on the back cover. This is Steve Ditman pencils with Craig Russell inks. And I think this is a great image. Maybe even better in some ways than John Buscema, brother of Sal Buscema. I think definitely this has more character and uniqueness to it than Buscema's art that, while brilliant. I don't know how to really phrase this without it coming off like I'm insulting one or both of the artists. I think this here is more unique and individual than what Buscema was doing. Buscema is great. Buscema, if he had done all 75 issues, still wouldn't have a problem. But this is... I really like this page. It makes Ron Spaceman look like his own thing, with his own style and visual sense and flair, and it's kind of like when Greg Batman took over drawing Kaiser. Buscema is great for a lot of things. Drawing the Dire Straits, for example, they look fantastic whenever he draws them. But Steve Ditman with Craig Russell, they add a sense of whimsy and fantasy that I would say Buscema didn't really have. Like, there's some really, really lovely bits of art by Ditman and Craig Russell in this issue. This splash page is somewhere between being good and being bad. I think this is one that definitely required a bit more time. As we get into the issue, I do feel like the art starts to drop off. And I wonder if that is because the first few pages, Craig Russell received quite early on. And then you get stuff like this, and the splash page before. And these are really... well, they are images that contain a lot of stuff. And really, the inking doesn't seem to be that present on these pages. It feels more and more like these are pretty close to what Steve Ditman's pencils originally were. But then we have this splash page, which is, again, another good example of the art really working. I don't know, it's a really interesting kind of art study when Steve Ditman takes over. And on this page is the only appearance in canon of Hawkeye's costume that he is depicted wearing in the first series of Andy books. But yeah, the art's kind of back and forth in terms of quality. But now the crazy thing about this series is that we are at issue 66 and the Dire Straits have been defeated. There is another 9 issues after this. I think we just send Ron Spaceman off into space to have space adventures for the remainder of his series. I'm not sure if there's any long-term plotting. It is mainly dealing with resolving character arcs and things like that. Great image here, Ditman and Craig Russell. And there's another bloody good one. There is Aaron, the Hungry Planet. So it's still a Marvel book. In fact, issue 72 is a Secret Wars II crossover. This is one of the 2 issues that they couldn't include in the Secret Wars II Omnibus. And this is Steve Ditman art with Bob Layman inking it again. Oh my, Beyond a Man is gonna look like such a queer. If Jason Byrne's dad saw this issue, he wouldn't be that far off. I mean, this image specifically, he is somewhat flaming. This issue actually resolves Dickie Jones and his cancer. Beyond a Man cures it. That's a satisfying resolution, isn't it? A character walking in, looking a bit queer, and waving his hand and curing cancer. And here is issue 75, the final issue with a cover by Craig Russell. I don't really want to spoil it for myself by looking at it. Extras, we have Marvel Age 23, or rather the pieces related to Ron Spaceman from that. There is that changed version of that splash page. There's an unused cover. Fred Embecker, always fun. Good old Fred Embeck. Outside, Andy Book Stuff, Deluxe Edition. We have Ron Spaceman's entry, and there, that's how I know the difference between the analyzer and the neutralizer. The Romulan Spaceman's Turbo from the Book of the Dead. Oh, what's this? Marvel have started doing new comics with Ron Spaceman covers. Oh god, I don't like this at all. One of me biggest fears is that Marvel are gonna do fucking Ron Spaceman comics again. Don't do it. Let it live in the past. Let people be happy with what they have. Different kind of fucking ruin it, please. Ron Spaceman's like one of the few things you can look at in the Marvel universe that hasn't been contaminated or ruined or fucking completely strip mined and fucking destroyed. I do quite like that image of him there with Phineas though. And then we've got fucking Bill son of a bitch paintings. That's the omnibus. Ron Spaceman is now complete on my shelves. I have all 3 omnibuses, the whole series. And I am happy about that, and maybe I will finally fucking read some. I'll give this 7 runs up